I'm Brandi Kruse. Coming up today on Undivided, our exclusive whistleblower report on how a state program meant to build equity in communities of color turned into a program to enrich those in control of its purse strings. Also, I made another wild trip down to Portland. I'll talk about how that went. And Governor Bob Ferguson's insane blind spot when it comes to girls' sports. That and much more coming up today on Undivided. Remember, you can support our show for just $5 a month. It helps us do the work we do. Go to undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com. Click on the banner that says support the show. Hello, friends, and welcome to Undivided. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your commitment to giving common sense a comeback. I'm Brandi Kruse. A ton to get to today. Just got back from Portland. I'm going to talk about everything that happened there over the weekend, the big court hearing that's coming up tomorrow, some of my thoughts on Portland PD finally sending in a bunch of officers after 140 days. First, I want to start with the exclusive story that we dropped on Patreon and Locals this morning. It is a story that is 3 months in the making for us. 8 months in the making for the whistleblower I'll introduce you to momentarily. The headline, Whistleblower State Equity Program Became a Fund for Personal Enrichment. The story is a tangled web of self-dealing that has now caught the attention of both the State Department of Commerce and the Office of Attorney General Nick Brown. So this report centers around a program in Washington state that you might not have heard of. It was one of the post-George Floyd race and social justice programs that was launched in Washington state, one of many, but it's a big one. It's called the Community Reinvestment Fund, and it's administered through the Washington State Department of Commerce. It was passed by the Democrat-led legislature in 2022. It had an initial $200 million investment. It also, this past session, despite us having like a $15 billion budget shortfall, got an additional $50 million investment, and this is what it said it was for. The Community Reinvestment Program is a community-designed initiative to uplift communities disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs. The goal is to create lasting economic benefits, build wealth, and ensure everyone has a fair chance at success. Well, that sounds nice. To ensure that everyone has a fair chance at success. But of course, the program is deliberately designed to help people based on skin pigmentation, to help them get things like home loans, business loans, even pay off credit card debt, help them re-enter into community after a period of incarceration. But when we read that line that says that the program, again, funded with taxpayer money, is designed to build wealth and ensure everyone has a fair chance at success, that seems to be where the program has failed. So our whistleblower is a woman named Corey Orvold, and Corey was introduced to this program as a managing real estate broker. She was helping her clients buy homes, and if her clients qualified for some of these community reinvestment program funds, she was supposed to help them apply and basically direct them towards some of the local nonprofits that were contracted with the state to administer these funds. And this really could be a huge deal to so many people in the community, especially people of color who qualified, who were at the right income bracket. It could have meant hundreds of thousands of dollars for them toward, in this case, the purchase of a home. And so Corey, starts off liking the program, thinking that the program is a good idea. And then she starts to get suspicious. About 10 months ago, she starts to realize that there are people who are tasked with administering the program in some of these BIPOC nonprofits across the state who are giving themselves money for homes, who are giving themselves money to cancel out personal credit card debt, who are sending potential home buyers to friends or board members who run real estate brokerages. And so Corey decided, after months of trying internally to blow the whistle over how this program was being administered, after trying to get a response from the Department of Commerce, from the Attorney General's office, that she'd had enough and she was going to speak to us.
That's really what's so disgusting about this, is this money should have been in community hands. Mm-hmm. The more that I just started to really look at all this, and I said, I can't be a part of this. Yeah, I've never, ever asked for any funds and never wanted them. And I didn't want any of this. I wanted to help community. And in trying to protect the Black community, February 10th was my first email asking what the hell is going on. And I've been shut down. There's been the personal attacks, just everything. And like I said, I really am sad. I'm really, I want this to be made clear that this is not the Black community. This is people that were drunk on power, that had a little bit of money that wasn't theirs, despite what they try to say, but this was community money, taxpayer money that some people went to their head. But the Black community, Democrat, Republican, white, Black, people on both sides have been victims of this, and people on both sides of the aisle, all colors, and they're really disgusted.
Yeah, and so, Corey, you can watch or read more of what she uncovered. I'm going to detail a couple elements of that. You can read much more of what we found in our story. Again, state equity program became a fund for personal enrichment. But I want to go through just a couple of these things on the show today, although I highly recommend you go and read the article, because Corey, as a whistleblower, is exactly the kind of whistleblower you want. We get tips all the time from people who say they've got evidence of fraud or waste or corruption or something like that. I mean, she came when I met her at her house in Puyallup with a 3-inch thick binder with hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents that backed up the claims that she was making. And what she had evidence of is rampant self-dealing. That even if you take the racial element out of it, I mean, we can talk about the program itself and any program that's designed to help people based really on skin pigmentation. But when you start to dig deep into how some of these millions of dollars in funds were used, there's simply no excuse for it. A couple of the examples in the story that we talk about, and it's 1%. Let me just say this. What we cover in the story today is probably 1% of all of the wrongdoing or self-dealing that's happening within this program. There is a lot of work still to do, but in order to help people understand it, we really wanted to build a web based on just one of the nonprofits that has a multi-million-dollar contract with the state to carry out this program. It's the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. And there are multiple people within the Urban League who awarded themselves money or awarded family members money, got money awarded through the organization. One of them is a woman named Asia Williams that we detail in the story. She, at the end of March of 2025, she closed on a home in Tacoma. And this is enough, I think, to send anyone who's ever had to save and scratch to buy a home into a tailspin. So she closed on a home for $424,000. But thanks to multiple state programs that her, as a Black woman, that she as a Black woman was able to access, the actual amount of her home loan was only $89,000. On a $425,000 home, she's only going to have to pay back $89,000 of it. The rest, gifts, courtesy of you, the taxpayer. She received $99,000 in funds from the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, which administers the new reparations program. She received $100,000 in Community Reinvestment Program funds from United Housing Resources, another $100,000 in Community Reinvestment Program funds through the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, and another $50,000 in Community Reinvestment Program funds through an organization in Seattle called Bird Bar Place. So the one of those that I want you to really pay attention to as we talk about self-dealing here is the $100,000 that came from the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. Why do I want you to know about that? Well, Asia Williams' mom works at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. She is the director of financial empowerment, a woman named Angela Williams. So in March of 2025, Asia Williams, trying to buy a home, gets $350,000, the bulk of it in taxpayer funds, 6 figures of that, through the organization that her mother is the director of financial empowerment for. And it gets even worse because at this exact time, as we detail in the story, other community members are being turned away. Other community members' applications aren't being approved for help buying a home. Other community members are being told that the funds the Urban League was given by the state have run out, that they ran out at the end of March. There's no more money to give. But of course, Angela Williams' daughter was able to sneak right in there before the funds expired and get $350,000. There's another example, and to me, this is one of the more egregious aspects of the program. There's a woman who works at the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. Her name is Ariana Gold. She is a HUD-certified housing counselor. Well, in April of 2025, a woman named Ariana Gold, I'm going to highly doubt that that is a coincidence, received $49,800 from the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle to pay off consumer debt. What do I mean by consumer debt? Credit card debt. Doesn't matter what the debt is for. Doesn't matter how the debt came to be. Doesn't matter if you racked up credit card debt on lavish vacations or jewelry or whatever it is. Through this program, they will pay off your consumer debt to put you in a better financial position to be able to buy a home in the near future. So here you have a woman who works for the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle as a HUD-certified housing counselor who gets nearly $50,000 of debt canceled just like that with taxpayer money. And at the same time that this is happening, remember the date there, April of 2025, just a month earlier, the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle was telling other community members that they had run out of money to forgive personal debt. So for poor community members who wanted to use this program, who weren't well connected, who didn't work at the Urban League, who didn't know someone at the Urban League, who didn't have a family member at the Urban League, they were being turned away. And at the same time, people well connected within the Urban League were being given money to pay off credit card debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars toward the purchase of a home. And again, these are just a couple of dozens, if not hundreds, of examples that exist of self-dealing within the Community Reinvestment Program. Much of it detailed in the story that we released today. There is no paywall on it, by the way. If you go to our Patreon or Locals pages, you can read that story today, right now, for free. So we, of course, have spent a lot of time in recent weeks reaching out to individuals involved in this for comment. No surprise, the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle denies any wrongdoing. And by the way, because of our whistleblower, we know that they've known about these allegations for at least 8 months and done nothing about it. The ULMS president and CEO, Michelle Merriweather, sent me an email. It read, in part, ULMS is committed to transparency, accountability, and equity in all our programs, including the Community Reinvestment Program. Sadly, many hardworking individuals, including those affiliated with community-based organizations, continue to face barriers to home ownership due to systemic inequities and high living costs. So their argument is we should be able to use the money. We're Black community members too. We're also suffering with inequities. And I think one of the very obvious things I would point out, let's make an argument that, the daughter of the financial director at Urban League should be able to get money to help purchase a home because she qualifies for it. But why $350,000? Why be able to layer it from multiple organizations using the same program? 3 different organizations, including her mom's organization, gave her money from the same pot to be able to purchase a home. Think of how many people they could have helped purchase a home by dividing that $350,000 up. Because at the same time, they're turning other people away. They're telling other people, we have no money for you. Well, yeah, because you gave a big chunk of the money that you got to the daughter of the director of financial empowerment. Now, I will say, as part of all of this, you guys know that we've had the now Commerce Director, Joe Wynn, on the show many times. Despite him being quite progressive, he and I get along quite well. He used to be one of the more progressive members of the state Senate, and he was a co-sponsor of the bill that created the Community Reinvestment Program. Well, then Bob Ferguson tapped him to be the director of the Department of Commerce. So now one of the state lawmakers who created the program is in the position at the agency that would need to start investigating wrongdoing in the program. And I will tell you, I was pretty surprised by how candid Joe Wynn, the director of commerce, is being about this. We've certainly been in touch with that office over the last several weeks. He told me this: the public deserves accountability and transparency. We appreciate that the whistleblower raised the issue. We are taking action. He also told me on the record that there are certainly some things that are happening that he can't just come out and say. So based on that on the record conversation, I tend to believe that Commerce is in the process of evaluating all of these contracts that come out of this program. Also just received a statement in response to our story from the Washington State Senate Minority Leader, Senator John Braun. He's the ranking Republican in Olympia. He said in a statement, in part, this mess isn't an accident. Corruption thrives wherever government decides certain people get special treatment and others don't. When politicians divide people by race, they create a shadow system with no transparency, no fairness, and no results. The Democratic majority funneled another $50 million to this program last year. People were told to trust this program, that it would have widespread impact on minority home ownership. Instead, the report I saw today indicates it's been treated like a private bank account. When public money is hijacked by self-serving operators, every Washingtonian pays the price. Corruption at any level is morally rotten, but especially if it happens under the nose of the agency that has been entrusted to oversee this program. This is financially destructive to our state and simply cannot continue. So the question is, what happens from here? Now, I'm sure, and there are many other BIPOC nonprofits in the state that are implicated in this. Corey Orvold, our whistleblower, as I said, she's got a binder full of documents that implicate nonprofits far beyond the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. We have already started the process of reaching out to some of those nonprofits for comment. There are obviously going to be and is a lot of room to do follow-ups. Frankly, it's enough to keep every single reporter busy in the state for the rest of the year if they have it in them to actually hold programs that deal with race and equity accountable. And that's always a tricky thing. And I think that is, I said on social media last night before we broke the story, it's probably one of the most important investigative reports I've done in my career. And I do believe it will have a lasting impact on state contracts because I believe the Department of Commerce has taken this seriously. We also know and have confirmed that the Office of Attorney General Nick Brown 2 weeks ago reached out to our whistleblower. On October 17th, an investigator with the Attorney General's office, the timing is suspicious, just around the time that we start asking questions about our whistleblower's claims, we know that an investigator with the Attorney General's office spoke at length with our whistleblower about the evidence that she has in this on this program. So now we know Commerce is taking it seriously. We know that the Attorney General's office is interested in looking into this. Where that leads, we don't know. Whether there's actual criminal wrongdoing, we don't know, but the involvement of the Attorney General's office certainly would suggest that there might be something there. But remember, this might be a $250 million program, but it is just one of many programs like this. It is one of many race, social justice, equity programs that was pushed through, rushed through post-George Floyd to appease a certain segment of the community in the name of equity and racial justice. And we know that those have been notoriously under-scrutinized by the government, by auditors, and by the press. Because why? Nobody wants to be called racist. Nobody wants to be called racist. So we can't look into these programs that were awarded to black people, because if we do that, like we do other programs, then people are going to come after us and accuse us of being racist, which is one of the reasons why I was glad that our whistleblower happens to be half black. They can accuse me of doing it for racism, but they can't accuse her of doing it for racism. They wouldn't be able to accuse Joe Wynn of doing it for racism. I don't think they'd be able to accuse Nick Brown, who's black, of doing it for racism. So there's a lot of individuals who are now wrapped up in this, who clearly see some there, who aren't white. And so if you have a situation where the black attorney general, where the very progressive Asian commerce director who supported this program, where black community members are now demanding accountability and pursuing accountability, then I think we might have a domino effect. Because if they're willing to do it for this equity program, well, I think that means they'd be willing to do it for other equity programs. Maybe the time has come. Maybe it just takes the dam being breached, one program falling, and now they have to take a closer look at all the other programs that were pushed out post-George Floyd to see if the money is going where the money was meant to go. And I'm going to tell you, probably not. I think back to the Summer of Love and the contract that the city of Seattle gave to a former convicted pimp to be a street czar and like connect the community with the police. And he worked for like 7 months, took a bunch of that time off because he was sick or something. And then the city quietly ended the contract and nothing came of it. Literally nothing came of it. There are dozens of contracts with a total value over $1 billion that should be scrutinized as part of this. And the report that we put out today with the help of our fearless whistleblower, Corey, is just the beginning. So go check that out on our Patreon and Locals pages. All right, coming up next, I'll talk about my wild trip to Portland over the weekend and what we're expecting to happen this week down there. First, I've encouraged you guys to take the First Mark Challenge, firstmarkinsurance.com, firstmarkinsurance.com, because you could save money. You could even get better insurance and save money. Wouldn't that be dandy? Better insurance, and it costs you less money. It has happened. It has happened to Undivided viewers and listeners who have taken the First Mark Challenge. There's a reason why so many members of the Undivided family are also members of the First Mark family. It just makes good sense. Why would you deal with your insurance on your own when First Mark will handle all of it for you for free, check back in with you proactively a couple times a year, make sure nothing's changed in your life, make sure your insurance is still working for you. Seeing how you got a kid that's about to drive, what's going on? You about to get a, what do you call it? A third wheel? Is that what you call it when you, third wheel, right? Fifth wheel? Fifth wheel. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, those have 5 wheels. Fifth wheel. What are you doing? Retirement? So I just love it. First Mark takes so much stress out of the insurance process, and they're always going to make sure that you're not paying any more for insurance than you need to. Firstmarkinsurance.com, firstmarkinsurance.com. The very best part is they work for you, not the insurance companies. All right. I decided on Saturday to take a trip down to Portland, and I never go, like there's a lot of cameras on what's happening in Portland, to the point where it's gotten a little absurd, I'll be honest. Some like conservative citizens have shown up in Portland in the last couple weeks and sort of are going toe-to-toe with Antifa, which I don't like. And I saw some of them down there and told them I didn't particularly like it either. I mean, at the end of the day, we want Antifa prosecuted, arrested, all these things. I don't think you need to go down there and fight with Antifa. It's kind of turned into a clown show down there, I'll be honest. But whenever I go anywhere, it's always with a specific mission in mind. And I had a invitation from ICE to actually go inside the facility and see what's happening behind the scenes. More on that in a moment, but that was the purpose of my trip down there. So you might have seen this all over the place. Saturday night, this is video from our friend Nick Sorter, who was on the Antifa Roundtable with me. So Saturday night and then into Sunday, so this is Sunday, all of a sudden, Portland police, see Oregon State troopers, they show up in force like we hadn't seen them in 140 days outside this occupation. And they cleared the little Antifa refueling encampment where Antifa members had been staying, had been getting supplies, and they came out in force. Again, we haven't seen that many Portland police down there. I had never seen Oregon State Patrol down there. They came in. So they started this process Saturday night while I was there. And then they came in Sunday, early afternoon, went through and did the rest of it. Got all the crap off the sidewalk, cleaned the sidewalk, cleared the sidewalk. And then Portland police were telling the protesters, we're going to start to enforce the law down here. I mean, that's literally what they said. If you're jaywalking, we're going to enforce the law. If you're drinking something, open container, we're going to enforce the law. And there's video of Portland police telling off these protesters. Again, this hasn't happened in 140 days. Telling off these protesters saying, this encampment has been a problem. People in the neighborhood are sick of it. It's dangerous. We're not tolerating it anymore. And there were some independent journalists who are saying they did that because of me. Now, I don't believe that. I think they did it for a much less noble reason, which I'll talk about. But why would independent journalists say that all of a sudden after 140 days, Portland police cleared this encampment because of me? Well, it's because right before they went in and cleared it, I was assaulted there. So here is a little reporting. Now, I don't have the video of my assault because they broke my GoPro. But I was waiting for my scheduled appointment to go into the ICE facility, the reason why I went down to Portland. And so I'm with my security guard. We're waiting to get the go-ahead, hey, to come in, because they kind of have to sneak us in. It's a weird thing. And so I figured, let me get some video while I'm out here. Now, importantly, because we were about to go into the ICE facility, my security guard didn't have his typical accoutrement on him. Do you know what I mean? Had to leave that at the hotel because we weren't allowed to bring anything like that into the Portland ICE facility. So, besides our fisticuffs, we don't have really a way to defend ourselves. So I'm treading lightly. But I wanted to get some video of this encampment that had just grown and grown and grown over 140 days. So here's a little of the reporting I was recording before I was assaulted. So this whole area that's now like filthy, looks like a homeless encampment, was cleared by Portland PD and the sidewalks were cleaned up just a couple days ago. So it shows you they're not, I don't think, really clearing it with the intention of keeping it away. They're clearing it probably for sanitation. And then they just let all of this come back. And I'll tell you, it actually looks worse than when we were here a couple weeks ago now. Definitely more stuff has piled up. So the cleaning from Portland PD and the city of Portland didn't do a whole lot. So there I'm doing that. You know, I had walked through. Even at one point, I had asked one of the black-clad people, is the sidewalk okay to walk on? I was told yes. But then there was an individual dressed all in black who started making some sexual hand gestures at me and shouting at me. And I decided I wasn't going to walk back through the encampment because, again, my security guard had to leave the real important stuff back at the hotel. Didn't need to get in a fight, wasn't interested in being assaulted in that moment. We had a mission. So I decided to walk around. I'm still recording. I decided to walk around the encampment, not through it, but it didn't matter. This massive hulking man or woman, still not sure, popped out from behind the tent with the full force of probably 260 pounds, came down with a big tomahawk on my arm as I was holding my GoPro, knocked it out of my hand, and then proceeded to kick it multiple times as I was trying to pick it up. So GoPro breaks, don't have video of that, but I do have some video of the aftermath. So of course, our friend, the fearless Jonathan Cho, was there. And I am on a group text and I message him, hey, I just got assaulted by the encampment. And of course he comes in.
See what happened to Brandi?
No, what happened?
She just got assaulted, dude.
Where?
Right here, she's right behind you. I tried to grab the cops. They left.
Okay. Wait, PD left?
They left. They literally just left.
They attacked you?
Okay, so there it is. The Antifa refueling tent continues to be a magnet and a problem in this area. Brandi Kruse, Seattle-based podcaster, was just assaulted.
See a little Antifa security guard there. What, monitoring me?
And there are no cops in sight. That's the problem right now.
So a couple really interesting and eye-opening things happened after this. So first, you see me on the phone there. I decided, and I'm done letting, things go, right? We're filing police reports when we're assaulted, period. Because now I think the federal government's actually interested in trying to, make these cases stick. So I call Portland police. I've never had to call Portland PD before. And I got an audio recording. I mean, imagine this had been a life or death emergency. I call Portland PD and it's basically like, thanks for calling 911. Somebody will be with you soon. And I don't really know how long I waited with the recording. It felt like an hour. I'm sure it was like 30 or 45 seconds. But that was the first thing that really stunned me. That, and there are no cops in the area. So they don't even have any cops there. So they basically tell me, hey, we'll have someone get in touch with you. But what I see then is crazy. So we're deciding we're not going to let we're not going to move from this encampment because if police come, I want to be able to say the person is right there. So the person who assaulted me, Antifa starts to gather around. They hide them in one of the tents. So we've got Black Bloc members covering both sides of the tent, and I know exactly what's happening in there. They're handing out jackets and stuff. I said they are changing. The person who assaulted me is changing. And they're going to try to conceal their identity and get away. And that's exactly what happened. So this guy who just assaulted me changed behind the thing. He's now the one up front.
He just said, I'm here.
Wearing green and a keffiyeh. Wasn't in black.
And now they're like leading him away. So they helped him change. Take a look at the shoes.
Jeans and keffiyeh.
Now they're blocking him.
Look at this.
Blocking him. So it's that guy, he's wearing the keffiyeh in the green. He changed clothes up front.
It's Cho.
In the green camo top, keffiyeh, scarf.
So a couple things here. This all gets very fascinating. So you saw what happened. Oh yeah, Antifa's not a real thing. It's not organized at all. Hiding behind a tent, help him or her change clothes. More on that in a moment. Very androgynous. And then they, all in black bloc with umbrellas, help the assault suspect flee the area. Now, as I mentioned, we're about to go into the ICE facility. We don't have weapons on us. My security guard says we're not following that person. And I agree. Again, I'm too old for that shit. I don't need to chase that person down. But you know who will? My good old buddy, Jonathan Cho. So I'm on the group chat. You see at the end there, Jonathan in the bright blue jacket. He's round in the corner and he's taken off. And he's following this individual because we all know where Antifa is about to take them. We all suspect that Antifa is about to take this individual, as they have with previous assault suspects, and hide them away down the block in an Antifa safe house. Here's what Jonathan documents.
That guy, he's wearing the keffiyeh.
He's wearing the keffiyeh.
He changed clothes up front.
Yep.
Careful,
Hi, did you assault Brandi Kruse? Yeah. Why did you assault Brandi Kruse? Why are you assaulting females?
Oh yeah, Daddy.
So the guy in the
Daddy.
keffiyeh looks like a male, wearing black shoes.
Forgive the
Camo.
language that's about to.
They're claiming
happen.
maybe it's a female, not sure. Being protected by Antifa. Overweight. This is the person who assaulted Brandi Kruse. And right now there are no officers in sight. If you're going to assault women, why don't you show your face if you're going to assault women?
Let me see your penis.
Again, this person wearing the camo jacket assaulted Brandi Kruse, now being protected by his comrades. And like I said, they're going into the safe house. This is the proof, ladies and gentlemen,
Insane.
that Antifa uses a safe house. There is coordination with people in this building.
Insane.
Just a block away.
Pussy lips, pussy lips, pussy lips.
Wow.
Pussy lips, pussy
They are harboring
pussy lips, pussy lips,
an assault suspect.
pussy lips, pussy lips,
Wow.
pussy lips, pussy lips. Man, never get to these pussy lips.
Okay. Now we know how they operate.
First of all, Jonathan Cho, love him, fearless. Find you a friend who'll chase down Antifa for you like Jonathan Cho will. And then they use that vulgar language because they hope, same reason sometimes they play music during, their actions, is they hope that it'll spark a copyright issue, or they hope that we can't post it because the video will be taken down. But we're willing to risk it to show you what's actually happening out there on the streets. But that whole series of events, in a civilized society, you do understand it's insane, right? We have a situation, 140 days, a very clear Antifa encampment. They've got the flag up. This exact same thing happened to our friend, independent journalist Katie Davis-Court, where she was assaulted, hit in the eye with a metal bar, got a black eye. She personally tracked the suspect, who was hidden in the same way, whisked away to that same safe house, an apartment owned by some radical left agitator. She called Portland police. She told them exactly what her assault suspect looked like, exactly where they could find him. And Portland police, what did they do? Nothing. We're at this area of heightened activity in the city where there should be cops everywhere. Not only did I get a recording when I called 911, but they didn't have any cops in the area they said that they could send, and that somebody would get back to me. And then this group of black-clad militants walks 2 blocks through the city in an area that, again, should be crawling with law enforcement, hides the suspect away on video in an Antifa safe house. And don't you think in Florida, you know what would happen? They'd be there, first of all, immediately. They probably would have been there in time to arrest him behind the tent in the 10 minutes that they took to change clothes. But I guarantee in some sane state, they would have been at that safe house the very first time they realized that suspects were being harbored there, and they would have kicked the freaking door in. Not in Portland. Now, this gets back to this assertion that some independent journalists are making online, that Portland PD went in, like that Nick Sorter video showed, and cleared this encampment hours after I was assaulted. Now, one officer told Jonathan Cho that it was happening because of my assault. Do not let them tell you that. As much as I'd love to take credit for parachuting into Portland, and I'm so special and beloved that all of a sudden they clear an encampment after 140 days because of me, absolutely that's not what's happening. What is happening? Let's use our brains, use our noggins, because I'm not the first one who's assaulted there. Many people have been assaulted there. It's not about me. It's about a court hearing tomorrow. Again, tomorrow there's a court hearing that's happening that will decide, hopefully once and for all, whether the federal government is allowed to send the National Guard into Portland. So what does the city of Portland and the state of Oregon want to do? Well, they want to finally go in, show this big presence to influence the court hearing that's happening tomorrow. Now, I hope that's not the case. I hope they finally had enough. I would like to hope that I was such a sympathetic figure. I eventually did meet with a very nice Portland police detective who was kind enough to wait until I was done doing my project for the day, met with him at length. He seemed very sympathetic. I would like to believe that he was just like, you know what, enough is enough. We're going to take care of this. But I'm highly suspicious because so many horrible things have happened in and around that encampment and that protest over 140 days that there was ample reason for Portland police to go in and do what? Enforce the law. First of all, the FBI still, regardless of what happens with the National Guard deployment and the court hearing tomorrow, regardless of any of it, there is so much there for the federal government to get involved. The FBI today should be knocking on the door of that safe house and kicking it in if necessary. Today, no reason not to. I think there is also ample reason for the federal government, because this is a terror organization, to go in and try to pick up some of these cases. To be able to use, geo-tracking to identify suspects who conceal their identity. And I'll say, one thing I just got to point out before I talk about what I was actually doing in Portland, which was none of this, it was not the point of it at all. Contrary to popular belief, I don't want to go get assaulted. I'm too old and frail. Look at my little arm. You took a hammer to my arm. I'm fine, by the way. But it's not, I don't search it out. Like, I'm not down there instigating. I went down for a project, had every intention of carrying it out, and then some goon, came out and assaulted me. I will say, though, I think one of the genuine, I'm not even saying this to be mean. I think one of the things that helps Antifa is how many of them are transgender. Because I have watched that video dozens of times from different angles. I have gone to this still image I have of the assault suspect. I cannot tell you if that's a man or a woman. Can't, based on the voice, based on the body shape, cannot. And I actually think that helps them quite a bit. Because what's one of the main things you need when they put out a bolo on a suspect? Is it a man or a woman? I told the detective, I'm not trying to be mean. I genuinely don't know. I actually think it helps them. So I think you need some tools like the federal government can bring to bear to track some of these people down. Now, as I said, I was actually in Portland because I got a really cool opportunity. Here's some video to go behind the scenes at the ICE facility, to be on the other side of the gate as Federal Protective Services went out time again to try to clear protesters. Got an opportunity to speak to one of the people in charge there. Got an opportunity to see some of those rooftop perches firsthand. I even got an opportunity to go in the kitchen and chat with folks as they were being served soup. I mean, I got the full backstage tour. And it was really fascinating, really eye-opening. That's what I went to Portland for. So we're going to have more on that on tomorrow's show. I felt like it was necessary, though, to explain to you, because I got a bunch of texts. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm just annoyed. I would like to go down there and not be assaulted. I would like to go anywhere, really, and not be assaulted. But I just wanted to share all that with you, because if you see anyone or any officers or anything saying that because I was assaulted, that was the last straw, and they finally cleared the camp, that is just not it. It's just not it. I love myself, but I don't think that much of myself. I really do believe it's because the court hearing tomorrow, and they're trying to show this strong front that they don't need the federal government. And I will also caution some fellow conservatives who are down there declaring victory over the encampment sweep. Because I guarantee if you're down there and you're someone who, was even at the Antifa roundtable and you're saying, oh, Antifa is vanquished, I guarantee you that the city of Portland will clip that and use it in court tomorrow. to prove their case. Oh, even these pro-Trump people on the ground say that the camp is over, that the protest is over. It's not over. They will come back the second that they're able to come back. All right, coming up next, gosh, we have a lot to get to still. New lawsuit around the issue of parental rights, which has been front and center in our state for a couple years. First, thank you to everyone who joined us at the Engage conference that the Rental Housing Association of Washington held last week. It was nice to meet several of you to talk about how the media covers housing policy. And there's going to be a ton coming up this session on housing policy. And I mean, geez, just the story we dropped this morning, I think shows you how screwed up everything is on the housing front in Olympia. And your champions down there, if you're a landlord, are the Rental Housing Association of Washington. They're fierce leaders who are down there trying to advocate for you and stop some of these ridiculous policies. So the very best thing you can do to help in that effort and to really help yourself is to become a member of the Rental Housing Association of Washington. It's like $260 a month. Again, only small to mid-sized landlords, not the real big guys. And they can have your back and also help you navigate the complex world of rules, laws, regulations, etc. So rhawa.org, rhawa.org. All right, so you guys will know the multi-year drama involving the Parental Bill of Rights. So, of course, there was an initiative that a ton of people signed saying we deserve to know what's happening with our kids at school. It went to the legislature passed it, and then what do? They came back the very next year and they gutted it because they always intended to gut it. This was their strategy all along. Well, now a group of parents and even school board members are suing over it. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. All right, so again, we'll just go through a little bit of the background for people who are maybe new to the show or not familiar. So Let's Go Washington ran a slew of initiatives in 2024. And they were initiatives to the legislature, which basically meant that if you collect enough signatures, which they all did, the legislature had an opportunity to adopt the initiatives or do nothing and send it to voters. For a few of them that they knew voters would pass, they didn't want to give voters the opportunity, so they decided to sign them into law. One of them was Initiative 2081, which created a parental bill of rights, and it was super common sense. It was like, hey, you can't keep secrets from parents involving their kids at school. You know, my kid can't go to school and you call them Tommy and their name is really Tammy and they're a boy at school and a girl at home. You can't do that. That's just weird. Like, stop keeping secrets from parents. Parents deserve to know what's happening with their kids at school. There's a reason why Initiative 2081 had overwhelming support right, left, and center. So Democrats were strategic. They didn't want this because they want to be able to push their ideology on kids at school. And they're controlled by the Washington Education Association, the teachers union. But they knew, hey, if this goes to the ballot, voters are probably going to pass it because parents want rights. It's a popular thing, you know, that parents want control over what's happening with their kids. So they decided they were going to be strategic and they were going to pass it into law. And they were going to come back the next year and gut it. So this year, was it this year? Yeah, 2025. They passed House Bill 1296, which amended the Parental Bill of Rights. And they made it seem like, oh, it's no big deal, you know, we're just going to make some tweaks here. No, they gutted it. They went back, they undid what everyone who's the hundreds of thousands of people who signed the initiative wanted to do. And they painted it as a bigotry issue. Like, oh, that initiative was all about, you know, hurting trans kids and putting trans kids in danger, as if parents inherently pose a risk to their children if their child is confused about their gender or whatever it is. Here is a clip of Governor Bob Ferguson and Representative Monica Stonier, a Democrat from Vancouver, who was a prime sponsor of HB 1296. I think this is from the day it was signed into law, right?
House Bill 1296 protects the safety and privacy of Washington's K-12 students. To support this goal, it includes a statement of student rights and clarifies parent and guardian notifications under existing law, including restrictions related to health care and counseling information. It also adds ethnicity, homelessness, immigration or citizenship status, and neurodivergence as protected classes under public school non-discrimination provisions in state law, and clarifies protections for sexual orientation, gender expression, and gender identity.
The young people in our schools deserve a place where they can be seen and acknowledged in their full selves and experience a full curriculum, one that is diverse, that reflects the true history and the experiences of people who live in this state. And to be able to experience a school system without discrimination is top-notch priority.
Just insane. I mean, literally standing there saying that we can't have a school system without discrimination if we let parents be involved. Isn't that just crazy? All trans kids will be harm themselves and just their lives will be ruined if parents are involved. No, we're going to parent your kids. We know what's best for your children. So that happened, and now there's another initiative, of course, from Let's Go Washington that's just trying to redo it. Hey, let's try this parental Bill of Rights thing again. But in the meantime, news just came out that the Citizen Action Defense Fund, which has represented us, of course, in a public records lawsuit before, is filing suit on behalf of parents and even a couple school board members against the state of Washington, the Washington State Legislature, Governor Bob Ferguson, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, and OSPI Superintendent Chris Reichdahl himself. Gotta love this. So this from the Citizen Action Defense Fund. A group of Washington parents, school board members, and educators have filed a lawsuit in Thurston County Superior Court alleging that House Bill 1296 is unconstitutional and unlawfully strips parents of their right to know and make decisions about their children's education and welfare. The law forces teachers and staff to withhold information from parents about their own children's safety and well-being. So the complaint argues a couple things about House Bill 1296, which upended the Parental Bill of Rights. They say it violates parents' fundamental rights, the right to direct the upbringing and education of their children. They say that right is recognized under both the Washington State Constitution and the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. They say it violates religious freedom and free exercise rights protected by the First Amendment because parents are being forced to accept school policies that conflict with their moral or faith-based beliefs. Say it violates the single subject rule, which is a rule under Article 2, Section 19 of the state constitution. It requires every bill cover only one subject clearly expressed in its title. You heard Bob Ferguson describing the bill. They say, no, look at just what Bob said. Does too many things. Can't do it. And then they say it violates federal law that allows parents to access education records. So first of all, this is great. And I love that there are some, so for instance, there's a Kennewick school board member who's a father of 3 on this. The plaintiffs also include parents with students in the Olympia and Tumwater school districts, which we know Olympia and Tumwater are some of the most egregious districts when it comes to hiding things from parents and pushing a radical ideology on kids. I would say more so Olympia, but we've definitely talked about some stuff in the Tumwater school district. But one of the other genius things about this is now we're going at it twofold. So there's another initiative right now. Go to letsgowa.com if you want to get that initiative sent to you, find a way to sign it. There's an initiative happening right now that would once again send this issue back to the legislature, and they're going to get enough signatures. So we know that's going to happen. No doubt in my mind. So that initiative is going to go back to the legislature. We'll give them another crack at doing the right thing. And then if they don't do the right thing at the same time, we've got this lawsuit. And I think that the Citizen Action Defense Fund makes some very good points. They've got great plaintiffs who are parents who have a stake in this. One of them's a school board member, and they're going to sue over the reversal of the last initiative. So hopefully, double dipping now, hopefully one of these or both of these can be successful. We can get back to sanity and we can realize that parents aren't the enemy and the government doesn't parent our kids. We do. I say that in a general sense because I don't have any children, but you parent your kids. I want you to be able to parent your kids. So we will, of course, be following this, and we'll have to see if Jackson Maynard with the Citizen Action Defense Fund wants to maybe come on maybe next week or something. I know we've got a lot going on this week, but we'd love to hear from them about the case or maybe some of the plaintiffs in this. So that segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Make sure you sign up for their newsletter to be alerted to opportunities to do just that. If it's not obvious, I'm so tired. Came back from Portland super late, got stuck behind some accident on 512, which I hope the man survived it. It looked really bad. So I'm not even mad about being stuck behind that accident. Went and met with my whistleblower a little bit before today's story. Got virtually no sleep, but here I am, caffeinated, ready to go. All right, we'll get to unbelievable coming up next. Man, this happened while I was in Portland. I was like shaking with anger. First, speaking of, I got to reach out to Wes Jones about our exclusive report. I bet you he'd have some thoughts on it because one of the aspects of this report, if you go read it, is, you have these organizations that control these state contracts and they're funneling business to their friends in real estate. So like, oh, we have a client who wants to buy a home using these funds, but you have to use one of our preferred lenders or brokers. So what it did is it enriched their friends who work in real estate. And it took business away from people like Corey and maybe people like Wes. I'll have to ask Wes Jones, our friend, see how I just seamlessly fold the news into my ad spots. I'll have to ask Wes Jones with sellwithwes.com whether maybe he lost any business to this shady, self-dealing web
Scandal.
Will you send that to him and ask him, did you lose any business over it? Corruption. Because you know what? I wouldn't be okay with that because Wes is a great guy. And I don't want him losing anyone's business. But anyway, 2025 has been a much better year than 2024 for real estate, certainly. There were some unique things about 2025, and it's not over yet, of course. But, you know, for instance, homes were sitting a little bit longer than we had become accustomed to. And that's why it's important that you have a real estate agent who knows the market, you know, who has been doing it for a long time. And that's Wes. And he knows how to react to different environments in the market. For instance, if your home, you know, might have to sit a little bit longer, there might be more supply on the market than you're used to, your home has to stand out. So that might mean that you got to come in, you got to make some cosmetic upgrades, and he can help you decide what's worth it, what's not worth it. He can manage the projects. Their staging is exceptional. And then, of course, their marketing team is just fantastic. So they're really going to make your listing stand out. So that and so many other services that Wes has that you're not going to find anywhere else. Sellwithwes.com. Sellwithwes.com. It really just is a better way to sell your home. Bob Ferguson is shameless. Shameless. I don't know if he understands what he's doing and does it anyway because he knows he can get away with it as a Democrat in Washington state, or if he's like genuinely oblivious to it. Let's talk about it in our segment. Unbelievable. Boop. I mean, talk about making me angry. So here I am. I was having a perfectly fine day. And then I read this post from Governor Bob Ferguson, who is at the Women in Leadership Breakfast 2025 speaking. He posted this along with a picture of him speaking. Washington is proud to be the best state for women's sports in the country. Do I have to read anymore? As a softball dad, women's sports is a big part of my life. I asked my daughter, Katie, what softball has meant to her, and she said it was character building. That's the best answer I could have gotten as a parent. I'm grateful for all the role models who have broken barriers to inspire Washingtonians like my daughter to do great things on and off the field. Happy Women in Sports Month. Okay, Bob, what is a woman? What is a woman? The age-old question. What is a woman? And I never go after politicians' children. This isn't about his daughter. But I'm sick of him using and putting his daughter out there and talking about how proud he is of his daughter in athletics, while he allows other people's daughters to be beaten by biological boys. While he defends and defended as AG in courts, while he's pushing right now against the Trump administration to keep men in women's sports, to keep boys in girls' sports and girls' spaces. As we speak, the state is fighting Trump on that issue. And he has the audacity to show up to a women in leadership conference and talk about how Washington State is the best place in the country for women and girls in sports. And also shame on the people who invited him there. They're obviously like clearly beholden to progressive ideology.
Along with Bruce Harrell.
Absolutely insane. And I would like him to say that too. I'd like him to justify that to our friends Annalie and Frances. Two young women who've been beaten or who had to compete against biological boys. And who had to make difficult decisions about, do I walk off the court? Do I continue to run? Do I risk a college scholarship in the case of Annalie? Just insane stuff. And then to have a governor who they've both lambasted on this show. Love them. Love these girls. They're so brave. But to have a governor who then has the audacity as he's trying to force boys into your spaces and into your sports to stand up and say, I love women's sports. My daughter is having a blast. Yeah, your daughter goes to a private school, Governor. What do you want to bet that his daughter's elite private school doesn't allow boys to compete against girls? I think the chances are pretty high. Of that. Meanwhile, if you don't trust Governor Bob Ferguson to do the right thing, which I certainly don't, you can sign Initiative 26-638, which is the other, in addition to parental rights, of the Let's Go Washington initiatives right now, and it would protect fairness in girls' sports. It would say no biological boys and girls sports. You have to participate in the sport that aligns with your real gender, not your fake make-believe gender. So we'll see what happens. And I think this is going to be, the next 6 months are going to be fascinating for a lot of reasons. But this initiative in particular, it's going to be so important because it'll get enough signatures. I mean, I think they're very, very close as it is. And you can go to letsgolaw.com. Again, go if you haven't got one, they'll send one to you. But this to me is going to be the litmus test that will follow every single Democratic lawmaker until the day they die. Because I don't think it's going to be very long until people are going to have to start caving on this issue because Democrats are going to realize it. Wow, this really is stopping us nationally from winning elections. Maybe not in a state like Washington yet. But I made a prediction the other day. We were at this dinner talking about this issue. And I said, Bob is very strategic. Governor Ferguson's very strategic. And as soon as he wants to be on the right side of something, and he wants to be there as early as possible. So if there's too many dominoes falling, I think he'll come out one day before he's forced to do so and say, I don't support boys and girls sports. And he'll act like he never did. Oh, nobody ever asked me or something. He'll act like he never did. I give it like 6 months. I think within 6 months, Governor Bob Ferguson will, for political expediency, because of what's happening around him in the climate, I think he'll come out when it's safe to do so, even though I don't even know what he believes anymore. I don't even know. And he'll say, I'm against it. And then everybody will follow suit. And then they'll go on and pretend like they never forced boys into girls' spaces. But if this initiative can go to the legislature and they have to either vote on it or ignore it and send it to voters, I think it's going to be significant. If they have to vote on it, every single member of the Washington state legislature will have to say on the record, I would say raise their hand, but it's a boop, it's a beep. Boop, beep, yay or nay. And then it'll be set in stone for the rest of time. So we'll know the sane ones, we'll know the insane ones. And we will remind them every single day who they are. And then if they decide to send it to voters, great, because this is an 80-20, maybe 90-10 issue, and I think voters will pass it. So wild, unbelievable. Speaking of, a little second dose of unbelievable. Do you want to do that? Okay, great. Gosh, this story just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So, of course, there was that illegal alien who got into a deadly crash on the Florida Turnpike. Couldn't even really speak English, didn't qualify to be behind the wheel in the state of Florida, killed 3 people. There's a lot happening with this, but as you know, there's a tie to Washington state and the West Coast because this guy got commercial driver's licenses from both California and Washington state. He was not and would not have gotten one from the state of Florida. And now Bill Melugin with Fox News put out some new information that, even though I know that in our state, they treat illegals the same as citizens. Like, we know that. But let's take the citizenship aspect out of it. This guy failed his commercial driver's license exam 10 times in 2 months. 10 times in 2 months. And they still allowed him to keep taking it and get a license to drive a big rig. This from Bill Melugin. Breaking. A senior official in the Florida AG's office tells me the initial results of their investigation into Harjinger Singh, the Indian illegal alien truck driver charged with killing 3 people in a crash in Florida in August, that those initial results reveal Singh failed his CDL test 10 times in a 2-month window in the state of Washington back in 2023. Additionally, Bill Melugin says he's told Singh also failed air brakes knowledge test twice, and that the Washington company that provided Singh's behind-the-wheel CDL training attested he could speak English proficiently when he couldn't. So multiple safeguards. Again, let's just for the sake of, putting aside the unhinged arguments about whether illegals should be able to drive a truck. He failed. You have to acknowledge having a CDL is an immense responsibility. You're flying down the road, sometimes 70 miles an hour.
Any driver's license.
Right, but this one's like, you hit anyone, you're killing them.
Yeah, but even to drive a car, if you fail 3 times, you can't take again for 3 months. Like, I don't understand why 10 times doesn't disqualify you for a certain amount of time.
For at least a year or 2 years or 3 years, right? It's absolutely insane. So all of that's happening. Of course, the state of California over this whole disaster is suing both California and Washington state. We talked about it last week on Florida Report. They're asking the Supreme Court to declare the actions of California and Washington an actionable public nuisance and to issue injunctions against the 2 states from continuing to issue such licenses to people illegally in America. And I think that they ought to win that. It's not fair that you would have, first of all, it's not in line with the new Secretary of Transportation rules around this sorts of thing. But like now Florida citizens have to be at the mercy of the people who Washington State and California allowed to be on the roadways? Absolutely not. It has to be consistent across the entire country. Meanwhile, from Fox News, the Trump administration is withholding $40 million from California over their English proficiency rules for truck drivers because, you know, it's dangerous. And so they're trying to use any tool to get California in this instance to comply. And so they're going to try to withhold federal funds from them. But just crazy. Again, I already know. You know, you can't speak English. There's a company that lied about him being proficient. You could tell from the body camera video, he can barely speak a lick of English. How are you going to read the signs? But then all these other issues on top of it. Clearly, he wasn't even a proficient driver. Because you could say, oh, you know, this person passed the test with flying colors. I know they can't speak English great, but no, failed it 10 times in 2 months. They just kept letting him take it, and then released him onto unsuspecting citizens out on the roadways. It's just truly...
It's crazy, the one in California that happened last week. He was only 21.
Yeah.
That seems so young to... I mean, you haven't even been driving that long to be in charge of a rig that size that can kill that many people that quickly.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, 21 is young, but again, you get into that age. If you let him do stuff at 18, you got to let him drive a big rig and all that stuff.
Well, but you should especially be able to, or have to pass some pretty rigorous tests, I just think.
I agree. I agree. Yes. I don't know if there's many tests I would say I'm okay with somebody failing 10 times for any sort of certification, and then just like a hairstylist. She failed. She failed
times.
What is it called? Beauty school.
Yeah.
She flunked beauty school 10 times. Do you want her to cut your hair? No, I think I'm good. I think I'll pass. Anyway, all right. We'll get to a little national news coming up next. First, happy to be working with Valentine Roofing, longtime sponsors of our friend Dory Monson's show, new sponsors to us here on Undivided, but we already know that they are a wonderful, trustworthy company. They've been working with people like us, if you know what I mean, for a long time in Washington State and the Pacific Northwest. When you see that red Valentine van at your neighbor's house, you know they are getting the Valentine experience, seamless communication, meticulous cleanup, and a team that always goes the extra mile. When you call Valentine, you get honesty. If your roof can be repaired, they're going to repair it. They're not going to try to push you into buying a new roof. But if you do need a new roof, you can be rest assured that your new roof will have a lifetime warranty. And Valentine does so much more than installing roofs. If you need gutters cleaned or installed, attic insulation, exterior cleaning, custom holiday lighting, there's one. Custom holiday lighting? Your husband hasn't done it? You got all these grand ideas? He just won't get the freaking ladder out? I'm not talking about my husband. My husband's very handy, and you know, but that sounds very nice, stress-free. You can count on the pros at Valentine for that too. Flexible financing options, including 0 down, 0% interest. Taking care of your home has never been easier. Schedule your free estimate by calling 206 Roofing. Again, 206 Roofing. Please tell them you heard about them on Undivided. I'm calling them for custom holiday lighting. My husband has been all hot and bothered about getting, he really wants icicle lights.
He wants them? I'm actually surprised about that because they're a
little tacky sometimes.
Sometimes they don't
but
line
he
up,
loves
and he's
tacky.
so meticulous about
He's a little
everything.
OCD, but he's like obsessed with icicle lights. So maybe I'll surprise him. Call Valentine. Well, don't listen to this, babe. Close your ears. Blah, 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 blah. Call Valentine, and I'll get him some of the icicle lights he's been wanting ever since, really, he moved into the house. So anyway, what was I doing? Oh yeah, 206 Roofing, 206 Roofing. All right, a little national news. Speaking of insane gender ideology, I think we take 3 steps forward, 10 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and everyone's like, I'm going to take the wins, but the losses are ridiculous. So the Minnesota State Supreme Court says a trans weightlifter's rights have been violated. Of all the sports that we know that men have an advantage in, lifting heavy things, I think we can agree, is probably like right up there at the top. So this is a man. Of course, the media won't tell you that. They'll say, nope, that's a chick.
Even though your eyes can
lift a lot of weights. I mean, honestly though, can you think of a sport where it would actually make, besides maybe wrestling, where being a dude would make a bigger difference than weightlifting? It's one of those. Minnesota Star Tribune. Minnesota Supreme Court rules USA Powerlifting violated the human rights of a transgender athlete. The opinion determined that USA Powerlifting violated the Public Accommodation Statute of Minnesota Human Rights Act. It left open the question of whether USA Powerlifting had a legitimate business reason to not allow J.C. Cooper to compete as a female. What do you mean by that?
A legitimate
First of all, business reason? Let's see.
Because it would make the sport or like females competing irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because then just males.
And then the females won't come and we won't have anybody to compete. So the Supreme Court said the human rights of this transgender weightlifter were violated when USA Powerlifting refused to let her, and even in the Star Tribune,
I know.
her,
Minnesota.
that's where I'm from. They weren't always so crazy. Compete as a woman at 2 events in Minnesota. If you're calling it him her, wouldn't let her compete as a woman. Aren't you kind of telling on yourself? It doesn't make any sense. Chief Justice Natalie Hudson wrote the opinion, which largely sidestepped the intensity of the topic to focus on the legislature's intent to protect individual rights regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. The court ruled that USA Powerlifting's policy, quote, expressly prohibiting transgender women from competing in the women's division of a powerlifting competition is discriminatory. I mean, what in the world? Can you imagine being a judge and putting down an opinion like that, looking at this person? Being like, are you kidding me? This is the insanity that we're in. I can't vote for anyone who supports that. I'll never vote for anyone who supports that. I don't care how unhinged or crazy the other candidate is.
It's a total that supports that.
Well, right. I can't respect you. It's a, and I think somebody else was saying kind of a similar thing to what I've been saying about this. It's a barometer, or it's a litmus test. Why would I listen to you? Who is saying this? Why would I listen to you on literally anything else? Why would I listen to you on taxes, on the economy, on public safety, God forbid, on war or anything else, if you're telling me that boys are perfectly fine competing against girls and there's no difference? And it's discrimination not to allow them. Really wild. All right, I'll just play this quick and then we'll get to our daily subscriber show poll, which I don't know if you've prepared that. If you haven't, can you do that? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was rushing it before the show. All right, well, Governor Kathy Hochul all on board with the Kami Mamdani in New York City, who's probably going to be the city's next mayor. Here she is speaking with him at a rally, or speaking alongside him at a rally.
Have been knocked down, and we get up stronger, louder, and more resilient than ever before. Woo! I'll be fighting every day with my partners on the same side, honest Stuart Cousins.
All those freeloaders. Where do you think the rich are going to go? Same place they did last time. They're going to go to Florida. And then you're not going to have any rich there to tax. But it's insane to me the extent to which the mainstream Democratic Party and Democrats who had been deemed sort of not too extreme have fallen in line with Mamdani. And keep in mind, Chris Cuomo's a Democrat. I don't think he's running as a Democrat now. Did he run as an independent now or change or something? But like, you're choosing the communist over the Democrat. And why? Because he has flashy social media videos? It's really crazy to see, and the same thing's happening here in Seattle with Katie Wilson. You've got mainstreamers who are endorsing Katie Wilson, not all of them, but a lot of them. And she's like a Nepo baby who's never run anything in her life. Very same thing happening in New York City. And then you see all those people in the crowd just, that's what I hear. Give me free stuff. Give me free stuff. I don't hear tax the rich. Give me free stuff. Handouts now. You know, it's just infuriating. All right. Are we doing our show poll right now?
Sure.
Okay. The show poll was contingent on you reading our exclusive report today. So if you didn't read it, you would have probably had a really hard time. Oh my gosh, I did not expect these results. You would have had a really hard time answering the poll, but I asked, based on our exclusive whistleblower report, do you trust the state will do an adequate investigation of the Community Reinvestment Fund? Your options were yes, it sounds like they're taking it seriously, or no. I gotta say, I didn't expect it to be 100%. 100% saying no.
Really?
But that shows you the mistrust. And I guess I understand. I do think that...
I think it's the adequate part.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't believe the state has given us any reason to trust them. Now, if they want to color us surprised and really show us that under Joe Wynn, things are different... And I'll tell you, based on my conversation with him about this, the on the record portions, I genuinely think that he was pretty mortified when he came to Commerce about how little oversight. He comes from a business background. So even though he's uber progressive, you know, he comes from a business background and he's looking at this and like in no other setting would this be acceptable with like zero oversight. And so, you know, I tend to believe that he cares about that he cares about streamlining these things. And also what I would say is, if you genuinely think these are good programs and you do care about helping underserved communities, although I would argue that's not a thing anymore, you genuinely do care about helping BIPOC communities achieve home ownership, build wealth, then you should want the money going to that purpose. And I'm not saying people like the example we gave that she didn't need the money. You know, it was a modest house that she got, but you gave her almost a free house. You could have divvied up that $350,000 to other people, and more people could experience the joy of home ownership and building generational wealth. So Nicole, what do you say, yay or nay?
Well, again, I think it's that word of adequate. I think that Joanne is going to investigate this and really, you know, dig into it. Yes. Do I think that the outcome is going to be what we want it to be? No.
What is the outcome you want?
Well, I want people to be held accountable, and I don't think that they will be held accountable. I don't think this person's going to lose their home. I don't think that her mom's going to lose her job. I don't think that the program will get new leadership and a whole new overhaul or, you know, shut down because it's not operating obviously the way that it's supposed to be, or it's designed to. In
a sane world, it would be shut down, right? Because we're in a budget crisis. In a sane world, the governor would look at that and say, we're defunding it.
Defund it.
Yeah, and I think that would be probably the only acceptable outcome.
Absolutely.
You defund it. You've proven you can't be trusted with the funds. And I don't think that's fair across the board. In our report, we detail this email from Bird Bar, which is a nonprofit in Seattle for BIPOC people. And there is a woman there who kind of found out, I think she understood some of this was happening in the layer. And in an email, she called out, we can't just help a select few. That's not what this money is for. So if you see this happening, let me know about it. So I think there are some people within the program, and I saw that email and I was very impressed because it really came before the whistleblower was saying anything publicly at all. So I think there are some people administering this program who actually do want to do the right thing with the money. Right. And so I don't think the program should exist as it is. I don't think we should have programs built on race and all this stuff and freebies and handouts. Let's see what subscribers say. So there was at least one person over on Locals who said yes. Terry Lee said, well, I voted yes. I do believe that only if some of the negatively affected parties come forward to complain, the traditional media sources need to cover this to ensure more people know about it. And I agree. And I said in the story, there's enough here to keep every reporter in the state busy until Christmas. And beyond. And I'll happily give you, I'll connect you to our whistleblower. I'll give you all the copies of documents we have. You don't even have to give me any credit, Seattle Times, because I know that would be too hard. You don't even have to give me credit. I absolve you. Do your own reporting. Take my reporting. Confirm it yourself. Fine. And act like you did it all on your own. And I'm just fine with that. I really am. I don't need credit. I only need credit from you guys. That's the only credit that matters to me.
It's deep. The corruption here is deep. And what it took away from people that were trying to use the program the way that it was, or, you know, for what it was supposedly designed to do. I mean, the agents like Corey that were trying to help people that were trying to get into homes and use it the way that it was designed to do.
Right.
I mean, in theory, I guess, but
you still might not agree with the program.
You might not agree with it, but if you
doing what it was designed to do.
if you yes, exactly. What it was intended to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, like from the people that supported the idea of it, because I don't know that it was even intended to do that from the seed of intent.
Yeah, one of the people I talked to for the story chose to stay anonymous. I totally understand why. Black woman, has a young son, 27 years old, and she says, look, my son, you know, he went to college. He worked 2 jobs. He's had a job since he was 16. He's never been in trouble. Went to college, graduated college. He needs, you know, it's hard for him to afford a home here. This program we thought was a great opportunity. Applied with the Urban League, went through everything, did all the classes they told him he had to do to get it. And then this is happening around the same time. This Asia Williams woman is getting all this money from the Urban League, like where her mom works. And then he's given the runaround, and then all of a sudden he doesn't get the money. And it's like, so here you've got these people who should be helped. You've told you'll help, and then you don't help because people who are connected are getting the money instead.
And
it's
I
just
don't
really
fault
wild.
people that are trying to take an advantage of a program that is put there for them. Like, I mean, you know, we may not agree with the program, but if it's there and the money's been put there for people to take advantage of, then I'm for the people that it was designed to help.
Couple comments. Alex Coda, federal investigation would be the only way. And that is a part of this in one of the FOBs we're doing. Some of these are HUD certified housing counselors. So HUD has some, ability to step in here and do something. So we're working on that. Pat Caldwell, the ones who rolled this through the legislature have dirt under their fingernails because they put our money in DEI. Let's see. Mary, it needs to get local and national attention. Our governor and AG need to concentrate on Washington state residents instead of Bondi and Trump. They cannot blame this on Trump. Oh, don't dare them, because they'll find a way to do it. Lewis.
It's such a difficult thing because I think that people's brain power for these topics is so short-spanned.
Yes.
And so if it's too complex, they just look right past it. Even the Seattle Times, King 5, all of them. If it's too complex, they're like, meh, too complex.
Hard to tell
and
on
they
TV.
Look past it.
Yeah, hard to tell on TV, which is why we had to do it in a written form. But also, that's why we chose to focus on so little.
Yes.
There are more than a dozen organizations implicated by our whistleblower. We chose one of them. We chose the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle as an example. And then within that, we only chose a few of the instances of apparent self-dealing, because you make it too complicated, then people just tune out. And it still ended up being a 3,000 plus word story. So it is complex, but it's important. All right, Kathleen, I don't trust them at all. I had no idea of the corruption, especially regarding DEI favoritism. Let's see, KM, I had no idea how corrupt the state was until I started reading and listening to Brandi. I used to love living here. I'm sorry.
Well,
but thank you.
I also think, we had to tell you.
We had to tell you.
Can't live in that blind.
No, we're not allowing that anymore. Jan says, get a hold of Harmeet Dillon. Yeah, you guys got to tag Harmeet on social media. Okay, we'll get to comments on other things coming up next from our stream and all of you non-subscribers. You know how late I stayed up working on this last night? And you won't even subscribe for $5 a month. Just hangers on. Hangers on. I still love you, though.
Stayed up late. Put your life in danger.
Put my life in danger? I got hit in the arm. Right here. Right here. Do you see it? Maybe a bruise. Maybe not. All right. There's a lot happening. Talk of AI bubble. You probably heard that a lot. Are you concerned with the risk exposure of your retirement portfolio? If you are, well, I highly recommend getting a second opinion with our friend Zach Abraham at Bulwark Capital to figure out if you should be or can be confident with how your retirement portfolio is positioned for 2026. And Zach is having another one of his very popular webinars. He's going to do his preview live webinar November 20th, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be Bulwark's final webinar of the year. They'll discuss the impact AI is having on the market in the preview, and they'll do, so it's going to be, like the name suggests, review what's happening 2025, preview 2026, and they'll do a full review of how Bulwark is always looking for opportunities to lower risk, lower cost, and give your retirement as much upside as possible. So register right now for their last webinar of the year, November 20th, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, totally free to sign up. Schedule your free, and do that, and then also schedule your free Know Your Risk Portfolio review and subscribe to Zach's daily market recap at knowyourriskpodcast.com. That's knowyourriskpodcast.com. All right. Some comments on some other things. Me being assaulted in Portland. K. Kruse, thank you, Brandi, for exposing what has happened to my former hometown in Portland. Used to be a lovely place. Praying it will be again. Near Nimrax, nothing will change until consequences are experienced. It's really simple. Delaney, all it took was Brandi getting assaulted again after being at the White House because they're scared of Trump coming in. Yeah, the Daily Mail says that I got assaulted because Trump called me very attractive.
What?
Yeah, they said that that's probably why Antifa assaulted me. Like I deserved it because Trump.
No, you weren't even on their little wall of their kill list.
They have like a little kill list wall with. I wasn't even on it. I was saying I was a little offended. I just think that they, and this is the thing, to say it's because they know me or they think they know my reporting, it overlooks the fact that they'll do this to anyone. Yeah. It's not, you don't have to be a conservative who went to the White House to talk about Antifa. they will assault anyone who they think is against them or is documented their criminal conduct. I don't know what it'll take for people to realize that. Let's see. Matthew Cook. Track down that landlord and see who's paying the lease for that space and communicate that they are involved in illegal activity. Oh, they know by now.
Oh, yeah.
There is literally no way that they don't know. Let's see. One super chat on the equity program exclusive. Sergeant Pickles just bought a $650,000 home after a decade of saving. Sure would be nice if taxpayers covered it, but sadly, I'm a straight white male. And that really is beyond all the self-dealing. How is it fair for one person to get $350,000 toward a home, end up with an $89,000 mortgage, while someone else gets nothing? Because they don't want, and I know Sergeant Pickles, I don't think he wants anything. I don't think that he would be comfortable accepting $50,000 or $100,000 that he knows came from other hardworking taxpayers, because that's just not the kind of people that we are. I wish I was the kind of person who loved free handouts. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love free stuff. Well, you can give me a free sample, taking it. Costco, free sample, taking it.
Yeah.
But not from the taxpayers.
But I also think you can look at it, taking advantage of tax loopholes. I think you can look at it in a lot of ways, right? So that it's a law, you're taking advantage of a law that's put there to help you. I mean, so I think you could look at it in a lot of ways, right? So
yeah.
I think that's what, I don't know.
Nope, I don't like it.
I know we don't like it and don't support it. But I mean, once it's there, then you give, but
it has to be.
This is taken advantage of in a corrupt way.
I agree. And so if there is, and look, we can have an argument, and this was the comment from the Urban League that they gave us. We can have a conversation about, okay, but like if there are people who are working in these nonprofits and maybe they are like volunteers even or something and they qualify for the program, how can they apply in a way that, maybe go to a different nonprofit? Don't go through your nonprofit. Mm-hmm. Go say, hey, I have a conflict of interest here. So I'm going to go through Bird Bar Place so that my application can be reviewed without any sort of accusations, because it's not enough. I don't think that you can eliminate a conflict of interest when your mother works at the place that's doling out the contracts. You can't. You have to go somewhere else to do it. So there's a million ways to avoid a conflict of interest. And just saying that, you have a conflict and acknowledging it based on the contract does not ameliorate it. So there's a lot of issues here.
And again, I do not, and to go back to the other part of the story where they repaid or paid off that debt that she had.
Right.
That's just a whole nother issue where I don't agree with giving people houses when you don't have the, you have to learn how to save to be able to pay for things that go with home ownership. Like if a refrigerator breaks, if your, water heater goes out, like you have to know how to save to pay for these things. And if you're just continually given things written off like debt, consumer debt, then you're not learning how to save and pay.
You're just getting bailed out.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. You're not going to be able to afford a house.
Our whistleblower said that was one of the aspects of the program that bothered her the most, even when she supported it and didn't know about the self-dealing. And she signed up for one of the classes that you have to take to qualify for the debt reduction. She said she didn't learn anything about avoiding, falling back into debt or spending your money wisely. And so she's like, I don't understand. All right. Bob's infuriating post about honoring Washington being such a great state for women in sports. Lil Miss J. Bob is the perfect example of what Malcolm X warned Americans about. It's funny you bring up Malcolm X because I was thinking about him a lot this weekend because I was thinking about this story and I was like, the chickens are coming to roost. And that was what he said after the assassination. Anyway, he made it wrong. Matt, he probably wishes he could have participated in women's sports. Yeah, because he's so scrawny that Bob Ferguson's probably mad. He didn't get to play against girls. He would have been considered more of an athlete. Yeah. As opposed to a mathlete or a chess player. Chris, I often troll Sideshow Bob, but when I saw his women's sports post, I honestly could not believe he's legitimately posted that without feeling like an absolute hypocrite. He's such a joke.
I don't know that trolling is the way to go, but I absolutely think people should write to him in a very respectful way and say, hey, you know what? I appreciate your post and I agree with you. Maybe you should consider that when you think about the initiative.
And the girls we've had on the show have asked to meet with him and they haven't been able to yet. I would love for him to meet with them, but he has no credibility as a man or as a leader if this is the position that he continues to take. All right, a couple more in here quick. I know we're going way over time. Let's see. On the truck driver who failed his CDL test 10 times here. Mike Whitman, I hope the company that hired him doesn't skate because they filed for bankruptcy or dissolved. They deserve to be held accountable. Native Wars, imagine these families this holiday season wanting to call their family but can't because laws protecting these illegals. Yeah, it's just horrible. Quick super chat from Moon Goddess. I don't think Washington can be saved at this point. Don't say that or else I won't have a job. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, or we will because we keep trying.
Nice little post from Eric Vasquez on Patreon. Hello, friend. Hi, Brandi. Somewhat related to today's topics. The other day, I completed the application for the College Washington Legislative Internship Program and just wanted to say thank you for all the local coverage you do. Without your show, I would never have become so interested in state and local politics, so thank you so much. Oh, that is so nice. Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. I've met Eric before. He's just a great young man, so that's great. Hopefully that application is... You say you just applied, right? Hopefully it's approved. All right, good comments per the usual. I don't know what our closing sanity check is, so I'll be surprised with the rest of you.
It actually kind of fits this whole topic.
Oh, great. Let's get to our closing sanity check. Sometimes when I'm super busy, Nicole just picks one and tosses it in, and then I get to it, and I pretend to know exactly what it is and toss to it seamlessly, which doesn't always work. So University of Washington professor is saying that new hires, his name is Stuart Regis, he's at the Allen School of Computer Science, and he says new hires have to give a diversity statement.
This is something that the faculty voted in a few years ago, that for new hires, we require a diversity statement. In the Allen School, where I teach computer science, we basically have three different main measures. There's their research, their teaching, and DEI, their diversity statement. So, and these rubrics say things like, they used to say you have to agree with the equity agenda, with the DEI movement. Now you have to say that you have deep knowledge of the DEI in order to get a high rating on all of this. The funny thing is, I'm convinced I would not be hired if I applied today. There's just no way, even though I've won the Distinguished Teaching Award here at the university. I'll give you an example of something they'll ask you. What have you done specifically for Black students in your teaching? And I would say, I don't do anything specifically for Black students. I have done a lot to try to make sure that struggling students have the resources that they need to succeed, but I don't think about Black students in particular and what they need. I just, do this for all students. That's not an acceptable answer. I'm supposed to say what I've done specifically for Black students. Otherwise, I'm not working towards equity.
Gosh, I love that. First of all, love that guy. Spitting straight facts, saying I wouldn't even be hired today. Even though I've been lauded for how I am as a professor, I wouldn't give the appropriate answers when it comes to DEI and what I've done for Black students. No, I've done a lot for students. Whether they happen to be Black or white really is none of my concern. That is a sane position, and I wish more people like him would speak out. That is a good one, Nicole. Great job. That has been our closing sanity check. That has been today's episode of Undivided. Go read our exclusive report if you have not already. And now that has been put out there, I'll have time to work on my exclusive report out of Portland about what it was like to be behind the scenes at the Under Siege ICE facility. Got some good exclusive stuff out of that experience. So we're going to talk about that on the show tomorrow. I will just warn you now, and I'll tell you again tomorrow and on Wednesday, we do not have a Thursday show, which means that our annual Halloween episode will be Wednesday. Yes, our annual Halloween episode will be Wednesday. I'm quite excited for it. Anyway, sign up, undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com. Help support our work and our investigative work as well. They say I'm not a journalist, and yeah, I'm probably not, but we do more journalism than they do. Undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com. Click on the banner that says support the show. Okay, bye.